Hi, everybody, and dear viewers and listeners, and welcome to my fan commentary on episode 29 of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, the first of what is the first of annual Ranger team-ups to the 10th Power. Part 1 of the In Space Lost Galaxy storyline, with both Power Ranger teams crossing over, and because for the 25th anniversary of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, I wanted to go ahead and commemorate 25 years of the very first annual team-up of the franchise. And as this being the first of many annual team-ups, this is the first that does not use any Super Sentai footage whatsoever, although there have been only a few bits of Sentai footage in the next episode, but we'll get to that. This mysterious alien that was made exclusive for our show, Deviant getting familiar data cards, getting data cards to 5 Psycho Rangers, because again, as you know, one of the things that got me was watching this episode again 25 years later. It still holds up as one of my all-time favorite team-up episodes of all of Power Rangers, and also one of my favorite episodes of the season. What I liked about this team up is that they did make sure that, you know, for everyone who missed out on Lost Galaxy during its main initial bit of character and story stuff, if you were not interested in any characters from Lost Galaxy or any of the story stuff that was going on, well, this episode is pretty much what probably got most of you by now back to Power Rangers after believing that the show should have stopped when Zordon died, and especially what had happened since the end of Power Rangers in Space. But with Lost Galaxy being somewhat a quasi-sequel season to last series, it makes sense that they had to bring back some familiar faces, familiar names, and familiar elements to make sure that the season was in continuity and not like some one-off continuity kind of thing, as many people believed. But since they brought back certain characters like the Psycho Rangers, as shown here, with the flashing lights and all, and what a dramatic return of our favorite evil group of Power Rangers. We needed this. Because, you know, 25 years ago, I didn't really think that a lot of people thought that the show was just done and over with, and that's how a lot of people believed. But once you had characters like Bulk and Professor Phenomenus back, Alpha 6 and the Asteroid Megaship back, Corone coming back in the next 2 episodes, people thought that Power Rangers should have been done. But for the lot of you that believe that that's how y'all wanted to think with Lost Galaxy and them being non-existent, they were like their own separate universes, separate timelines or something. No. Knowing that a lot of the majority of the seasons in the original 30-year continuity is all canon to Power Rangers, because, and the Turbo movie notwithstanding, but you have to understand that everything is connected, regardless whether you like it or not. Because if In Space was to be the last season, you know, honestly, they did went all out last time. But this season, for me personally, this is where I feel like this is where Power Rangers should have stopped right here for me as well. But Lost Galaxy, as great as it was, I kind of feel like this should have been the last season, like the true last season. This feeling being more of an epilogue to what has come before since Mighty Morphin Season 1. And honestly, I feel like Lost Galaxy should have been the end of Power Rangers for me, as I said back in my What If I Stopped Watching Power Rangers podcast episode on my Terra Venture podcast. If you want to check that episode out, that's still on my channel after 2 years since 2000. I do also want to point out now onto the actual episode with the Psycho Rangers. Now, one tidbit that I'll have to give this in the next episode. Oh, and that device that Deviant has to control the Psycho Rangers. Why do I have a feeling that's the digitizer thing from Digimon, or like the toy version of it? Okay, well, besides that point, but the Psycho Rangers, one thing I have to note, the vocalizer, the vocal reverb effect to their voices that make them sound more digitized, that's missing. This has happened a few times in other media, especially like when I was watching Transformers. For some of the Transformers shows, like Transformers Prime, where, yeah, of course, it's not Generation 1 anymore, where the characters have to sound like how they did in G1 with the vocoder. Oh, and that goofy bike rider from Stolen Beauty again. Yeah, the second and last time we'll ever see him in the show. Okay, so knowing the fact Lost Galaxy has a Green Ranger, I guess personally, I don't mind Psycho Black fighting a Green Ranger. Or Psycho Black doesn't mind fighting a Green Ranger, but for the lot of us that in the more recent years in Ranger fandom, we had recently have gotten a Psycho Green Ranger, but started with a cosplay that somebody came up with that got so tremendously popular for Saban to catch eye to make money off for Boom Studios back when Saban still had Power Rangers. But Psycho Green is now officially part of the franchise. One of the reasons I had to skip those following filler episodes for Leo, Kai, Damon, and Maya is just to get straight to the main point of the show, because those episodes between Evil Game and this weren't really worth a note. And also, if I want to bring some continuity from Evil Game, Leo's still wearing the same outfit he had since that episode with him training in that red tank top and black cargo pants. Oh boy, here we go. The first thing that we got in the Lightning Collection, Lost Galaxy related, available as your local retailer. As much as I mind that two-pack thing I got from Hasbro's Power Rangers Lightning Collection for this fight between Leo and Psycho Red, yeah, I mind it, but now looking back on this, it kind of makes the Lightning Collection release of that two-pack encounter between Leo and Psycho Red a little bit redundant. As epic as that fight is, that Lightning Collection 2-pack now is oblivious to many. But again, something for the 20th anniversary of Lost Galaxy 5 years ago was the release of that 2-pack. And as good as this fight was, I wish it lasted a lot longer, but no, we gotta get to the main point of the story. And don't worry, like I said in my Shane's Karma commentary track, this had happened similarly between Shane and Vexicus back in Shane's Karma and Ninja Storm. And that line, Psycho Red says, "You don't know me? I'm Psycho Red." It's still iconic 25 years later. It's obvious, as someone who still stayed on with the franchise as a child at this point, it's Andros in the cloak and all. But if this fight took place during Sunset, it could have been a bit more like, we could have just saw who the cloak figure was with the Astro Blaster, and the voice could have been distorted so that way the viewers wouldn't know that's Andros. But it kind of gave it away a little too much. But for people who never watched Power Rangers past, let's say, Zeo or Turbo, you wouldn't even know what the heck is going on at this point. Or if you hadn't watched Power Rangers in 25 years after In Space, you clearly... Oh, here we go. My other favorite Red Ranger, Andros. Yeah, I got distracted. But still, like, I kind of wish they probably would have did some backstory of what was going on with last season. And as good as this epic moment between Leo and Andros was done so well, as opposed to Leo meeting up with Kelsey and the other Lightspeed Rangers and Trakina's revenge. But now, again, no hard feelings for Trakina's revenge. I mean, personally, as of 2 years ago, I had already softened up on that team up two-parter. But I just think To the 10th Power still holds up. It has a very strong place in my very special place in my heart as one of my favorite episodes of Power Rangers and one of my favorite Lost Galaxy episodes, if not one of my number one favorite episodes. My number one favorite episode of top 5 of Lost Galaxy for me, because this and The Power of Pink. Now, Journey's End may be somewhere around number 2, and I think Evil Game or Heir to the Throne at number 3rd. Protect the Quasar Saber at number 4. Facing the Past number 5. Because the next episode, Face in the Past and Protect the Quasar Saber, and the finale, in the 3-part finale, are like top 5 tier great episodes that highlighted Lost Galaxy. While some of the episodes, like the Magna Defender stuff, still is good, but there have been some episodes of Lost Galaxy that is not good. I feel like this remains the #1 greatest episode. Another nitpick I do have to give to the 10th Power, while we do have this new thing for the Astro Megaship called the Power Vault, personally, I would have called it the Astro Vault because they've been saying Power a lot, especially like in last season, like Power Red, proper name. Yeah, there's only 5 Space Ranger colors, but no Zane. My favorite villain trinity with the Psycho Rangers, capturing 4 of 5 Lost Galaxy Rangers and 1 Magna Defender, of course. And if you also was watching the episode with closed captions on the DVDs or so, Damon's name in the caption said David, when that's not what Kai said, unless that's what it said in the captions, but... Okay, Trakina, your most hated Red Ranger returns. But he's not alone. He's got backup too. But don't worry, we also got that foreshadowing your team up with your name on it for next season's team up. Trust me. And Psycho Red ain't happy that Andros is back either. While the entire premise of this crossover is all original, there is some elements from Ginga Man vs. Mega Ranger adapted, just only like the 2 Ranger teams teaming up. So this is the only aspect of Ginga Man vs. Mega Ranger adapted into Lost Galaxy, but the entire premise of the Psycho Rangers returning and what we yet to see next episode is all original and made exclusive for Power Rangers. What I also don't get is that when we do get to the epic crossing over of the 2 teams fighting the Psychos, Micah's Magna Defender fights Deviant and Villamax 2-on-1 when realizing maybe Mike should have just stayed out of this if there was nobody else he could fight, and knowing there is no Psycho Silver or anything, or like if they could have just did like a manifestation clone of Psycho Silver without no traces of Zane or something, but there was only 5 data cards, so you couldn't do that. But I mean, again, I mind Mike back as Magna Defender, but he was kind of unnecessary here. That's another drawback for this. But yeah, this was also in Ginga Man vs. Mega Ranger, because since, you know, even in Ginga Man vs. Mega Ranger, Hugo never did teamed up with Mega Silver. I'm sorry, I forgot his name from Mega Ranger, the Silver Ranger equivalent in the Sentai, so I forgot. Anyone up for a run for it? Now is the time, and that's when the party starts. You know, as a kid, this was mind-blowing. Oh, Kendricks is not Valerie Vernon's stand-in. Sorry. I mean, I've been pointing this out lately. The more we watched the season as I got older, I've realized that in some shots, Kendricks is not really Valerie Vernon unmorphed. It's just some stand-in actress that, yeah, it's good looking to make her look similar to the original actress in some shots, but I did point to that out since even revisiting the season back in 2016 on Netflix. I do like how they edited the morph sequences and the theme songs for In Space and Lost Galaxy well in this team up. So that's another huge pro for this crossover event. I wish that, you know, even though the original continuity of Power Rangers as of 2024 is over, if the original continuity of Power Rangers had continued with season 31 or so, season 32, we could have still did more annual team-ups with what's going on with the Cosmic Fury Rangers, with whatever Sentai they could have adapted for seasons 31 and 32 of Power Rangers, but nah, but you gotta remember, they're doing that reboot. Yeah, I know. And I like how the Lost Galaxy theme gels well when we go into both teams, and then that first ever annual team-up multicolor explosion. And Trakina yelling, "Take no prisoners." That is definitely a meme right there. 25 years ago, I've always loved this team up. from the moment I first saw it, it still holds up it still holds up now as it did back then, because it really still has some staying power. And I do like the way how this episode was first repurposed in home video in that Best of Power Rangers, the Ultimate Rangers DVD back in 2002, 2003, when Disney still had Power Rangers. But once Shout Factory got a hold of the entire DVD rights to do the first 17 seasons, and when Lost Galaxy finally got that complete series treatment alongside Zeo, Turbo, and In Space, if you got the box set. But what I've got is still the individual DVD release of the season. But as I'm currently syncing this commentary with the YouTube upload of the episode, I decided to go ahead and just bring that up. But although I'm happy that it's great to see the episode in good quality DVD wise, even on YouTube. I really like the way how for the first of annual team ups, they actually got in sync together. And this is one of the reasons why I've always preferred the In Space and Lost Galaxy team up, and as well as the Wild Force, Time Force team up crossovers, other than, let's say, Lightspeed Rescue's team up with the Galaxy Rangers or the Time Force Rangers. It's because Lost Galaxy and Wild Force's team ups with, with their respective teams that in episodes they did. This is why I prefer To the 10th Power and Reinforcements from the Future for many reasons, because Trakeena's Revenge and Time for Lightspeed were just okay. They just wasn't as good as this or Reinforcements from the Future, in my humble opinion. But they did do pretty good, did somewhat, right and somewhat wrong. But although I kind of think Time for Lightspeed was kind of weak, while they did a very more original premise and did everything Trakeena's Revenge faltered at. But again, I gotta, make no hard feelings too again. The Defender fighting Villamax, but again, what was that during the early half of Lost Galaxy instead of Magna Defender versus Trecheron? I do also like how they had to the Galaxy Rangers would use the Lights of Orion. So okay, that's the only bit of Sentai footage there, and the only bit of Mega Ranger footage here is them using their weapons. Their Spiral Blaster and Spiral Saber Blaster mode, and then the Quadra Blaster thing for the other 4 Rangers, while the Galaxy Rangers and their Lights of Orion power up is all original footage. That was a good blend of that. So I'm happy that paved the way well, and while that was a good way to conclude the Psycho Rangers, but this ain't really the end for them, as we see next episode, the very next episode immediately. So yeah, that's the end of the Psycho Rangers. Well, red, black, blue, and yellow. Pink is going to stick around for a while, and how does she survive? We'll see as we get to the end of this episode. So, a reunion of the Space Rangers on the Astro Mega ship with Alpha. Alpha is just so excited to see Ashley, Cassie, and the gang back again. Minus Zane. I just wonder, I just wish that if Zane was in the episode, if they would have just, I personally think Zane would have gelled well with Mike also, but what the heck. But I guess we don't need him, because also like in Gigaman versus Mega Ranger, the Silver Ranger was not in the original, the Silver Ranger was not in the team up, so therefore it was never going to happen. And one of the reasons that they did the power of Pink, as we see in the next episode, especially with Psycho Pink crawling out like a Deadite from Evil Dead 2 of sorts, is that, again, they did this episode did these episodes in that certain amount of time, because again, Valerie Vernon's health problems, which I'll discuss immediately next commentary track. See, again, she pulled off some Universal horror movie monster thing, digging out with her hand out of the dirt. And you can see some circuits and busted wires coming out of the back of her head, because again, the Psycho Rangers are cyborgs, programmed to fight their evil Ranger counterparts. But we did, however, saw Psychos red, black, and yellow with human forms before. Knowing the Psycho Rangers' resurrection was all Deviant's idea, because, well, I think metaphorically, the only way Trakeena wants the Galaxy Rangers defeated is if since she lost her father, the Galaxy Rangers will lose one of their own, as we see next episode.